Welcome to Just Another Podcast. I'm your host, Justin Soderberg. Today's guest is local Maine comic book creator extraordinaire, Ben Bishop, aka Bishart. He is here to talk about The Last Ronin, which is a comic book put out by IDW Publishing in the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles realm. The Last Ronin is a very highly anticipated book coming out. It hits the stores today, Wednesday, October 28th. And Ben is here to talk about how he became the the artist on the comic book, how that came about, what he expects, what he hopes people will get out of it, and so on. There are zero spoilers needed for this podcast because we will not be spoiling anything in this podcast. If it happens to happen, we will edit it out so you don't get spoiled. That's what we're here for. So this is a Last Ronin podcast, as well as some talking about the Bishart Kids Club. The boxes hit people's mailboxes this past week. And so if you are a Bishart Kids Club member and don't want to know what's going on in the box, we'll give you a little leeway in that at the end of this episode when we talk about that to let you know to stop listening for now until you get your box. But we're all going to go over, in this episode, we went over the idea, how he chooses and so on. So enjoy this podcast. Ben Bishop, comic book creator from Split Decision Comics, and also the series artist now on the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, The Last Ronin. Welcome, Ben. Enjoy. Thanks for listening to the Just Another Podcast. Enjoy, guys. What's up, Ben? How are you, man?
Good. How are you doing, dude?
I'm doing well, or as well as you can be in this 2020 right now, right?
Yeah, but it's almost over. It's almost.
It is.
I have this theory that, and it doesn't make any sense because I don't know anything about Mayans or how their numeric numbers work. But I think that they flipped a digit, and instead of 2012, they meant 2021. And so I'm like, oh shit! Like it's all going down. It was misinterpreted. Like this is all just leading up to the worst. So get ready.
And I have this theory. I mean, obviously, I don't want to talk politics at all, but like the idea that after the election, not because of the election, not because there's some sort of conspiracy, but I feel like maybe after the election, things will start to look up a little bit because either one, they fought to win the election, aka Trump, and they won it, and now they don't give a shit about appearance anymore. And it's like, okay, everybody wear masks and social distance and do all this stuff, or Biden wins, and then he does the same thing, or even JoJo wins and something. But I'm just saying, like, I just feel like end of November things will start to pick up a little bit just because the election is over, not because of the election, but just because it's over.
So I'm foreseeing like doom and gloom and hellfire and like the ringing true of an ancient prophecy, and you're seeing like good things. I like it.
I'm trying, man. I'm trying to see like the positive things inside. I mean, it used to be back in March. We talked on episode 9 of this podcast, and back then it was like, oh, what's going to happen next month? Oh my gosh, next month. Now I feel like we're doing 3 months at a time, and then soon it's going to be like, well, 2022 is not that far away, and
yeah, it's crazy, and it's making everything's just flying by. It's nuts. I remember the last show I did was Chicago Comic-Con, and so that was like the last weekend of February and first weekend of March, so it was like right when things were starting to happen and people were like talking about stuff, and the hubbub at the show was like, are they going to cancel Seattle Comic-Con next week? Like, because it was the next weekend, and everyone was like, no, they'd have to be nuts, that'd be so much money, and of course they did. Like that's how fast like everything hit. It was so weird. Yeah, and so it's just been cricket since then as far as conventions, but it's for the best.
Well, speaking of that, I mean, I didn't think about it until you said that too. It's obviously not a positive thing for you not to have conventions to go to and stuff, but it's been positive on your work side of it, meaning that you don't have to worry about taking time out of doing work, like you're drawing and creating, to go to a Comic-Con, or is it just, that's just part of your life?
It's weird. Like I feel bad. Like the past 2 or 3 years, even every show, I'm like, oh, I'm so done with shows. Like traveling, I just hate traveling. Once I'm at the show and I'm set up, it's awesome. I love talking to people, and I just don't want to like pack up. I'm like, oh man, I can't, like, I'm not looking forward to Sunday when I got to pack up and then travel again and lug all my stuff. Cause I'm bringing like, I do like big books, like 300-page books. So I'm bringing as much as I can, but you're maxed out at like 50 pounds a bag and things like that. So anyway, like I hated all of it except for when I'm at the actual table. And so I was always like, oh, next year I'm going to take a whole year off. Next year I'm going to take a whole year off. And then this all happened. And at first I was like, whoa, no conventions. This is going to be pretty sweet. And then things got like bad, worse, even worse. Like, and so now like I've replaced all the traveling time and inconvenience with just like what everyone's going through, with like so difficult to be productive and like stay on task and like really crank. And so I think it's almost the same, which is it's like so unfortunate. You'd think like I had like a whole year. It's like when you talk to someone who's like, well, you had all last week off, and they were like, yeah, but I was sick or something. Like I didn't do anything. Like, so that's kind of how this whole year has felt. Not that I've felt sick, but that like, everyone's dealing with like doom and gloom and depression and like what's going to happen tomorrow. Like it used to be what's going to happen in 3 months or whatever. Now it's like what's going to happen tomorrow. And I don't know. So I've been getting a lot done. It's been nice to not travel, but I feel like if it was on my terms and there wasn't some pandemic that was just killing way too many people, like I would be like really killing it. And I'd be like, yeah, like look how much work I got done because I didn't go to those shows that all you idiots went to. But now I'm looking forward to shows. And like next year I'll be like, man, I wish I didn't have to draw all these comics and I could just have fun at shows.
I was watching I forget what it was. My wife and I were watching a video of the drummer for Tool, because of how big of his setup and all that stuff. She goes, he has to set all that up. I go, the thing about it is when you get to a certain level, someone brings the drums for you and someone sets them all up for you. So you just need to get to the level where someone brings all your books for you and sets it all up for you.
So last year, I mean, you did that unboxing of the Bish box, the Bishart Kids Club box, which I'm sure we'll talk about a little bit. But last year was when the club really started to start rolling and getting more and more like people. And so almost any show I went to, there was 6 or 7 Bish kids in the area. And so there's many shows where I would ship them books and they would bring stuff, or they would run to Target and get like, I always build like those crappy cube 3 shelf bookcases. And then I just sketch on them and leave them behind for whoever wants them. And so I was like, can you grab that? Can you grab this? And so it's a huge help. And so I think the next step, it would have happened this year probably, but like having kind of like these little pods of, an $80 a month storage space or something, just like full of books, like in the middle, and then, like have as many of those as I can. So I just like travel super light. But more realistically, hopefully I just get like big enough that every show I go to, I'm invited to, and they say like, what do you need? And I say, well, I need you to buy me like 8 bags, and I don't want to carry them all. Like I want to just ship them or something, because it's always such a hassle. Like you're like, oh, I get 50 pounds in this one, 50 pounds in this one. And then my gate check bag, I put it like 300 pounds because they don't weigh it. And then I get to the gate and I'm like, so would it be easier if you guys want to just check this? And they're like, sure. And then they grab it and they're like, what the hell? So,
you hope you sell it all, right? I mean, you hope you sell all your books too, because then you don't have to bring it back.
That's the worst. Yeah, that's the worst, is if you bring all that and you don't sell them, and then you have a really sour taste in your mouth for like not just conventions, but that particular convention. You're like, never again, never again. But there have been shows where I just completely sold out, and that's why I was kind of bummed about Seattle, because has always been one of my best shows. I think I sold like 250 aggregate books that show, so it was like a lot of weight. And I just left my luggage bags. I was like, screw it. I was like, I'll get new ones. I don't want to go home with anything. I was holding onto my backpack like this and just like, it's awesome. I'm very wasteful is the takeaway from that whole story. I waste bookcases.
Well, the funny about it is like, that's a unique thing. Can you imagine if like these bookcases behind me, it was like Ben Bishop's sketch art on the bookcase? Like that's something.
Some people like it. Yeah.
I mean, that's something that, I have this in my room here. I mean, it's not like it's in my living room, but like, the idea that something like that would be a pretty cool, unique thing. It's like, well, 100 years from now, some kid's like, well, look at this cool bookcase I have. Which, let's be honest, if you buy them at Target and they're probably particle board, they're not going to last 100 years.
No, if it gets humid at all, it's going to collapse. But yeah, so I mean, when people, they're like, well, I live right down the street, or I drove here, or whatever, and then it's just a no-brainer. I've left like 4 in Denver, I think. Actually, I think I have a whole suitcase of books in Denver, being held by somebody right now. And they were like, I was going to bring them to the last Denver con, but that got canceled. I just found these in the back of my garage. It's like, well, congratulations. You may end up keeping them. I don't know. Like,
one day at a con, someone's going to come up to you and be like, hey man, see this luggage I have right here? That's actually your luggage.
Yeah.
You left it behind somewhere.
Yeah. 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 And I'll be like, just don't show it to me. Keep it.
Yeah.
I don't want it. Yeah.
Speaking of time and energy and effort into things, obviously you're working on Aggregate too, right? I mean,
Yep.
doing that stuff too, and obviously you have a lot of stuff doing at Split Decision, but you are working on The Last Ronin, right, for Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Yeah.
What is your role again on this? So I know you're not really involved in book one, or what's
Mm-hmm.
the
Yeah.
breakup
So
of
the whole
this?
thing has been really confusing to a lot of people because there was an initial like announcement of the new art team once Andy had to leave, and I wasn't in the announcement. It was just like a mistake. And so every single like article or press release or anything that came out since then, just I'm not in it, and which is a super bummer because someone at like where I'm at in my career would have been huge for me, to get all that notice or whatever. But I can't really complain. I'm still on the book. So, but one of the biggest problems with that is that every day I swear like two or three people, I'm like, no, I'm still on. They're like, what'd you do? Why'd they kick you up? And I have to like, no, I'm still on. It was just a mistake. So my involvement is, I think part of the reason the mistake was made though is because it's a very small involvement on issue 1. If this whole thing was coming out all 5 issues in one big book or something, it would have been a completely different story. I'm hoping my name might have even been on the cover, because how it was explained to me by Kevin was, with the exception of issue 1, I'll be doing like flashbacks for this Ronin character and, his life before and how he got to be where he is now, being as vague as possible. So I'll be doing all the flashbacks. So it's like kind of a nice style change. We do that in Drawing Blood, the other book I do with Kevin. I'm the main artist on that one, and Kevin does the flashbacks on that, which is really fun. So he wanted to take kind of that same idea and flip it for this. And so how he explained it to me was that issues 2 through 5, it would be almost half the issue, because there's a lot of like whatever they're trying to explain in that issue. And so I don't know. I mean, issue one, I do only have 1 page. It's crazy. Like I was like, oh, I'm all geared up, the biggest release ever. And they're like, you got 1. I'm like, okay. But I'm fine because I know I'm going to be in the other ones, and it's really exciting. Even if I just had the 1, it's really cool. It wouldn't make sense story wise, but so I'm hoping on issues 2 through 5 that at least like these news outlets and podcasts and whoever's talking about the book at least like recognize it, that I'm part of it, because that's really good for me just to have people talking about it before they buy the book. Like they'll know obviously once they get it because it'll be written in that. But so my that's my involvement. Yeah.
Right. And so you got, I mean, obviously for those who don't know, first of all, let's back up a little bit. For those who don't know, what is the story? Not the,
yeah.
No, we don't know as TMNT fans, we don't know who the Last Ronin is. We know it's a 25% chance on one of the 4 turtles that, the historical turtles, but we don't know who is the Last Ronin. But what is the overall story, the Last Ronin about? Like it's about a single turtle, but like it's based in the future, right?
Yep. So it's supposed to be set like 40 years in the future from nowadays. I don't think there's a specific number or date in there that I know of. So it's definitely a future story. It's got a lot of, you've seen some of the images. It's got a lot of like cool Blade Runner-ish kind of set designs and cars and motorcycles and a lot of Mobius influence. I don't know if you know that artist. You should. And then as far as the story, like I don't even know what they've said. I think it's clear that he's like out to get somebody for something. That's as vague as I want to be.
Yeah.
But the story itself is really special because way back in '87, when I was only a year old, Peter and Kevin had the idea for the story, and Pete actually typed up this it's got to be like 15-page document, which I have a copy of, and it's got Pete's sketches in it and all this stuff, and he was detailing what this story would be, and it's really crazy. I can't wait till the story's done so we can do another podcast and I can show you some of that or talk about it. But Pete is like a genius, and the stuff he had in there, and again, I'm saying Pete is a genius. I don't know how much they like mashed up on it and like brain melded, and then Pete maybe was the one who went back to the computer. That very well might be the case, but he had the whole idea, and I believe I heard it was supposed to be like the last story that they ever did together, which is why they never did it, because they weren't planning on stopping anytime soon. And so now IDW is finally doing it. They just kind of went over the 100 issue mark, which is the most turtle issues ever made under one company, which is huge. And so like, it's a perfect time to do a story like this, not knowing, is there going to be IDW issue 200 or 300? Like, who knows? But this is like, it's a great milestone time to do it. And yeah, so it's dark. It's definitely dark. Kevin wanted it to be like, I think you can tell from all the images, like a very Dark Knight Returns, which is so appropriate because so much of the Turtles, especially issue 1, is like an homage to Frank Miller, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So to do it again, but with like a much bigger, high profile kind of classic, iconic book like Dark Knight Returns, to do it again, but with the Turtles, is like a really, really nice bookend to me.
And I think, with your influence into it too, you have Aggregate, which is a little dystopian style book as well. So you have that aspect of this, is in your realm as well. Obviously, you're also a TMNT artist, so you draw Turtles as well. So seeing this, but also it brings it back to what Kevin and Peter started, which is, if you read issue 1 they wrote and did the art for, was way more gritty and way more darker than it is now, where you see the nothing wrong with some of this poppy style that has been on cartoons and stuff like that, because it's grown a franchise. I mean, you just shared the article that someone put like one of the most successful cartoons of all time. The creator lives in Maine, or from Maine, and Kevin Eastman. But like, it brings it back to that, and that's what I'm excited for. I'm excited for that aspect of, I did find some PDFs somewhere online once to read issues 1 through 3, because I think it was the only way I was ever going to be able to read them, really. But and this brings it back to that aspect of a little bit more gritty, a little bit more dark, which I'm pretty excited about too. But also, I love mystery. I love the idea that you don't know, like, we don't know until we pick up a comic book and find out on when, the way this is going to release on Wednesday, the day the first issue comes out. I'm going to pick it up and read it and be like, oh, who is the Last Ronin? And so it's really cool, that aspect of it too.
Yeah, I think you're right about like the darkness level and the grittiness. Like, fans are always clamoring, myself included, for like more like the original movie, like how dark it was. And it was a great balance too, because it was still for kids, but it was dark. It was almost like a carbon copy of issue 1 in a lot of ways, which I really loved about it. And so I think that they're excited about that. They're excited about the mystery. I don't even know if it was the intention from day one to be like, we're not going to tell people who it was, and it'll create this massive hype and make it the best-selling turtle comic of all time. But like, that's what happened. Like, this thing has now sold, the last I heard, over 130,000 copies, which is the most ever. And obviously a big part of that is due to all these comic shops knowing, like, this is like one of the biggest books coming out this year, let's do our own cover. And then of course every shop or retailer who does their own cover, there's a minimum of those, and then those are selling out too, though. So it's not like the numbers are just from stores buying their own comics. Those stores are buying their own comics, and then all their comics are already sold out in most cases. Like, all these variant covers are just like spoken for and pre-sold. I know I'm doing 3 different covers, and 2 of them are already sold out, and the book comes out on Wednesday. I'm going to actually pick up them tomorrow, so I'm excited. Even though I've only got 1 page. No, it's a good page though. You'll see. Yeah, I'm not going to tell you much, but
no, yeah, I think it's a pivotal. So
yeah, you don't want them either. You want to read.
No, I don't want them. I'm a fan, so it's like, why would I want this? But in the same sense, like, the second I open it up, I'm sure I'm going to learn a lot of things that I don't know now. So it's like, it's a couple days from now. It's not like it's a year from now. But like, you write about the selling out and stuff like that. I mean, my comic book shop, Galactic Comic Books in Bangor, he in his email to all of his Polis people, he was like, just to let you know, you can't, I'm not gonna be able to give you 3 copies of each, or all this to the stuff. And he's getting one in 10, or a couple 1 in 10s, and a couple 1 in 25s, or whatever it is. But it's just fascinating. I just, to see me be able to just buy a Turtles comic book. And I just bought 110. There was no issue. I just bought it. There's probably still some on the shelf at the comic book shop. And then to think about some of that, it's going to be like, my equivalent was in Bangor, because there's such a smaller area for comic book shops. There's only 2 in the Bangor area. And when I went and bought Walking Dead 192, was the last issue, 192, 193, whatever it is, the last issue they did of The Walking Dead. someone had caught wind that it was the last issue, and I was in there getting my pull list, and the guy was like, I don't see any Walking Deads on the shelf. And he's like, well, they're all sold out. He goes, you opened 3 minutes ago. It's like all the pull list people bought them and they're already spoken for. And he's just like, really? And it's like, that's what I'm getting with this Last Ronin, which is like, they're not even going to be on the shelves at any of these shops. You're just going to be able to walk. No one's just going to be able to walk in off the street and grab them. Hopefully there is a few here and there, but
there's a second printing coming. I believe that's already been announced. And I think it's going to come out around the same time as issue 2, which would be nice, you know, getting it back on people's minds, because there's a little bit of a gap between when this one comes out and when issue 2 comes out. I know because I have a lot of work to do. And so, but yeah, I think you're totally right. It's just exciting, and there are so many other things to find out that people are going to be talking about. So it's like right now, it's like, who's the Last Ronin? Who's the Last Ronin? It could be like, who's that guy? Who's that guy? Who's this girl? You know, who's the villain? Who's this villain? Who's that villain? Where's this guy been the whole time? Like, there's so much in there, and like I'm still finding it out. Like, it's very much like happening in real time, and it's crazy to see. I don't think he'd mind me saying this, but like how nuts Kevin is being about it being perfect. Like, perfect. Like, they're rewriting stuff, him and Tom, like up to the minute. My page was done the day before it went to print, and that was because of all the people in front of me who I need to wait on in order to do it, like script, layout. So Kevin's also doing, in addition to like co-plotting and working with Tom to write the thing, he's doing layouts for every single page. So that means all the future pages that the brothers are doing, and so it all has that like Eastman sensibility to his action, which is like, it's not the same as it was in issue 1 because it's better, but it's like, oh, you know it when you see it. Kevin uses a lot of like really small panels, like fast, you know, action cuts, and just like some pages will have like a trillion panels up top and then like one square flat in the middle of the page, and it's just like, what are you doing? Like, he just makes up his own rules, and I love it. Like, I try and maximize, because we do the opposite on our book Drawing Blood, where even on his flashbacks I do layouts and he does the finals on them. And so like I have a lot of like wide panels that go from edge to edge and like fill every spot, and you know, I'm not necessarily like a grid like 3-3-3, but I stick to, well, I ruled it out, you know, and Kevin is just like boom boom boom, and it's like really cool and refreshing to see, especially in a book with heavy action like this. So
speaking of you know, the hype and all that stuff too, do you look at any online, any of these like advanced reviews and speculation and stuff like that? Do you look at that as an artist yourself, or do you just try to avoid that?
No, I do. And at this point, like, it's still in my career, I'll like Google myself and be like, is anyone talking about me today? Like,
and usually you get the hockey player, right, from Maine.
Yeah, I always get the friggin' hockey player. I hope that he's now Googling himself and being like, who's this comic kid fucking up my search results? Like, I got to meet him. But yeah, but I've been doing that with Last Ronin, especially because I'm like, how many articles am I just not mentioned in? That's fine. So I'm hoping it'll be different from 2 to 5. But yeah, I do look at it, and it's funny, like the rabbit holes that they go down with like such little information. Like, they think they figured stuff out, and it's just like, you don't know what you're talking about. Like, people were analyzing all the variant exclusives, like, oh, well, in that one he's using a sword, it must be Leo. Oh, in this one it's kind of tinted purple, it must be Donnie. And I was just like, I told you, Bish Kids, I was like, let me let you in on a little secret. And they were like, who is it? I'm like, I'm not gonna tell you who it is, but I can tell you that none of the variant artists know. It's like, I think maybe like 2 of them maybe know, but like, it's not privileged information, you know, or I mean, it is privileged information. It's just that like, if they were to tell that many artists, like everyone would know, you know, it would get out. So it's fun to see those like rabbit holes though, or even the artists who I think were like really, really close. I'm like, oh, do they know?
Well, I mean, like I said at the beginning, it's like you have 25% chance, really. I mean, in a sense that if you say that it is one of the 4 original turtles, you have pretty good odds. You can figure. It's not like, you know, hey, this new Marvel character in the entire Marvel universe, it's one of these people. It's
that'd be impossible.
Plus, they all like, you know, in the facial features from a distance, from, you know, silhouette of them and so on. It's, a turtle's a turtle. So it's not like they're that different that you'd be able to like look at a turtle and be like, I know who that is. You have to, that's why they have the different colored things nowadays, is because you need to be able to tell them apart.
Especially with the precedent they've set since '83, which is that like the best part about turtles, we may have talked about this last time, but for me, one of the coolest things about turtle comics is like the style changes drastically depending on who's drawing it, and people still know that's the turtles. Like Eric Talbot's turtles look night and day compared to Jim Lawson's, compared to Steve Levine's, compared to Mateo Sanluca. Like, but people aren't like, "Whoa, what's going on?" Like, it's like, it's turtles, you get it. But if you were to try that with like Superman or something, I don't know if people would dig it as much. Like, it still has to look like Superman, iconic. Like,
well, I mean, Todd McFarlane got that crap, when he left Marvel, because the way he drew Spider-Man wasn't the way you were supposed to draw Spider-Man. So it's like, yeah, you're right. It is cool that, because Kevin Eastman's turtles look different than your turtles. It's not.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and Kevin Eastman, when you look at a Kevin Eastman, you know that's his artwork.
That's why it's really like challenging working from his layout sometimes, because a lot of what he'll lay out will depend on proportions and stuff. So say like the turtle's like punching somebody or jumping over something or getting on to a bike or a car or something. Like, I draw longer legs, longer arms, smaller hands, like smaller heads. Like, he's got his style, I've got mine, and you just have to like find this middle ground. And I think that the guys who are drawing the Last Ronin, the main artists, I still don't know how to say their first names, but it's like Esau and Isaac, I think, Irbeck maybe. They do such a good job of like kind of like streamlining and cleaning up how Kevin would do it if he were to just do the whole thing. And I think it looks really cool. Like, I was really impressed with their art. I was so sad to see Andy leave, because I thought he was a perfect fit. He has that like Dark Knight Returns kind of style. It's very chunky, huge black areas. And then I was like, oh, they're never going to find someone. And then they brought these guys in, and I was like, oh, that's pretty good. It's very different than Andy too. It's like thinner lines, but like really gritty. Yeah.
That's awesome. That's so cool. Yeah. I mean, you already know what it's like to work with the creators of TMNT, because you've been working with Kevin for a little while now. So it's not like that's a surprise to you. But is it easier to work with someone who created the original characters? I mean, like, you've done Transformers and Batman and all these other stuff, but you've never really worked with the people who created the actual characters. So
yeah. I think with Kevin, because we did the Raphael Macro series, the Target R book, and he did. So that was the first time where that was actually the first time I did any turtle interiors like that got published, because I was just covers and stuff before that. But again, he did the layouts and things like that. And so I think that's my best place to look to answer that question. And I think what I do is I just like, I hold what he says in such high regard, like it's law. Like, so if it's different if he's talking about like pacing or the way I'm drawing buildings or something. But when it comes to like the turtles, like he'll say stuff like, oh, a more traditional head shape or something like that, and I'll know exactly what he means. And so I just I'm not going to argue it either, because it's like, those are his characters, whether he still has the rights or not. They're his and Pete's, and then a lot of the Mirage guys too. So like, I do the same thing when I'm doing something with Steve Levine or Eric, or I haven't really drawn anything with Eric, but I take what they say and like their sensibilities and things like that, like really to heart, because those guys created essentially the style guide for everything. So
that's pretty cool. I mean, we've talked about this before, because we talked about you working with Kevin and all that stuff and getting Drawing Blood. Did you get this job because of your connection with Drawing Blood and Kevin Eastman, or was there another avenue you went to find? So did Kevin just call you and say, hey, I want you to do the flashbacks? Or
so we're deep into Drawing Blood Volume 2 right now. So in addition to doing the aggregate Volume 2, my own book, we were already in the middle of Drawing Blood Volume 2, it's 4 issues long. So it's just over 80 pages. So it's a lot of work. And I was just, every day getting, page here, page there, page there. And he would, go, great, and fill us in on what he was doing. And he kept mentioning Last Ronin. and how like Andy might not be able to continue. And I said something like, I really wish I could, but I am slammed. Like I was like, I have so much work to do. I wish I could help, but I'm not even like, I was trying to like, I guess in my subconscious, I was like, don't forget I'm here, but also like, man, that would be a nightmare if he said yes. Like, and so that happened for a couple weeks. Like he was still kind of talking about what might happen. And then he mentioned, well, maybe just the flashbacks or something like that. And so then it kind of became something we were going to do. And we spoke to David Avalone, the writer on Drawing Blood, make sure he was cool with it, because it's obviously going to slow that down a little bit. And we told all our backers on Kickstarter, and I told all my aggregate 2 backers. And so like for now, it's like just hoping everyone can just cool and wait, because that means you're going to have 3 awesome books instead of 1 awesome book and 2 rushed books. So it kind of went down like that. I definitely wasn't asking for it. And at first it was definitely not like an Andy replacement. I was going to be working with Andy, which I thought would be super cool too. And then it just became like, oh, new artists for the main thing, and you're still going to do flashbacks. And yeah, it's cool. It just kind of came together. Yeah.
And it's nice it's only 5 issues too. It's not like you have this commitment to make, you're not going to eventually have to say I'm backing away myself because I'm too busy. Like it's like, okay, 5
Yeah.
issues and we can deal with it at the end of it, and you can go back to doing what you were doing and stuff like that. But like
it's amazing though, like the 5th issue won't come out till May 2021, so it's still like my indefinite future. Like it's just like, oh, all right. But I've been picking away, like today I got Drawing Blood done. I got 2 done yesterday, 2 pages. So I'm like as I'm waiting for Kevin's layouts, I'm jumping back to Drawing Blood, and I'm just trying to get like as many as I can done, so that when it comes time to jump on Last Ronin, I can get as many of those as I can done. And so it's really the first time I've efficiently bounced between books. I never have liked to do it. And Drawing Blood is such a different book. It's like guys in like collared shirts and car chases, and it's very emotional expressions. And I mean, Target R's, or not Target R, but Last Ronin's emotional too, but it's more punching.
have you ever did you actually accidentally draw a turtle into Drawing Blood yet, or is that not?
Yeah, actually we have.
Like, oh, look at this turtle in a suit. Weird. Oops.
I hide them everywhere. There's if you look in, oh, it hasn't come out yet, but here's an exclusive. In issue 5, which will be issue 1 of volume 2, there's a scene where like Shane is on a plane, and he's wigged out on all these pills. And you can see Troy Little does all the hallucinations, because he does all the ragdoll stuff, all the radically rearranged Ronin ragdolls. And he drew one of the samurai turtles from Turtles 3 on the TV screen, like, so they're watching Turtles 3. And I was going to pull this out when you mentioned like crossover stuff. In that Raphael Macro series that I drew, that Kevin wrote, there's a Shane Bookman and Beastly Easter egg here. And this is like such a pivotal scene, because this is a flashback too. It's the first time Raph gets mad. So like he was just kind of created, he's running through the streets, he's like not even fully mutated yet, like his hands are all stuck together, and he gets beat up by these thugs. And then he's like, that makes me angry. And so it's like, I thought of it as like Raph being born. And Shane Bookman is kind of supposed to be the fictional true story of Kevin Eastman. And so I was like, oh, this will work out really well if I can make Kevin responsible for Raph's rage. Like, so that was my thinking there. That's how I sold it to them. And I don't think
That's
IDW
awesome.
noticed, so they never asked us to take it out.
No, I was like, but I was like laughing because I'm like, I feel like with all the products you have, it's hard. I mean, obviously you're smart enough and know not to draw a character you're not supposed to draw, but like, whether or not you ever like accidentally put a turtle in a suit and tie, or you accidentally have a turtle do like pills or like.
Well, I'm always trying to sneak that stuff in and kind of skirt under the legality, or at least like, oh, that's small enough, no one will notice. There's a lot of, in Drawing Blood issue 4, they're at New York Comic Con, like you can see it on the back of the book here at the Javits Center. And so it was like the background is going to be full of comic booky stuff, and it's like either I make all that up, which is going to take a long time and some of it's not going to be that good, or I'll do what I always do, I'll sprinkle in as many of my things as I can, but then there's like people walking around in cosplay, and so there's a lot of people that are like kind of like a Power Ranger or kind of like a Wookiee. But we didn't do too much turtle stuff because Kevin Eastman's actually in Drawing Blood issue 4. He meets me, Shane Bookman, and David Avalone, so it's very meta. And so we're like, we couldn't just have like too much turtle stuff in there because wouldn't make sense.
So when Drawing Blood ends up on TV at some point, are you gonna play yourself in that cameo, or is that
If they do that, if it ends up on TV and they do that scene, I would be stoked. If it ends up on TV and he's just not like, some blonde guy or like 100 years old and they change everything about it, like who knows what they'll want to change.
Yeah.
But there's not much I can say there either, but there's stuff in the works that's really exciting.
And I think you announced that when you guys did your announcement of this was it New York Comic-Con special?
Yeah.
What did we say? It was San Diego Comic-Con special, but it was something that you were saying something along the lines that you're still wanting to, because originally it was supposed to be that way, wasn't it? Wasn't it written for it to be on TV? It was written as a TV show or a movie or something like that, I think. And then you said that it was going to be there, not you, but Kevin said that they're still working towards that. So I don't know what the actual, I don't think there was anything really given away, but I was just saying, like, it does fit towards, it would be a cool Netflix or HBO show. It would be really cool.
I've been gushing over the volume 2 stuff, especially issue 7, like, so volume 1's 1 through 4, and then this one's 5 through 8. And like, I'm drawing some of the 7 pages right now, and I've been sending like some of the scripts to some close friends and stuff. They're like, you got to read this. Like, oh my God, people are going to cry. Like, it's just so well done, so well written. Like, David is totally killing it. And like, obviously with Kevin and him mind melding on, the plot and the ideas. And, but man, it's so good. What I was going to say is there are things like being talked about and still in the works. But the coolest part is those things want to remain as close to the comic as possible, they've said. So like, even if it were, live action, it would stick to, what we've done, because David comes from that. Like, he's a writer for that, like for movies and TV and things like that. And so he knows, even though this is written for comics, he knows like the perfect structure. Like at the end of book 1, like volume 1, our cliffhanger, I was just like, are you kidding? Like, it's so good. Like, I was like, oh my God, that's the perfect cliffhanger. Like, I think I'm an okay writer, and then I read stuff and I'm like, oh yeah, I can get better. So it's good. But and then if it were animated or something, the animation people have said they want it to look like my art, which would be like my dream, because then there would be like little toys and shirts. And if they change the style, it's a little less cool. But if it was actually like trying to mimic what I had already done, that would be the ultimate. That's what I want. Yeah.
That's like one of those things. It's like the owning an action figure or something small to have and have it be your actual artwork would be pretty bad. Because like, you've done, like, obviously we can talk a little bit about the Bish Kids Club as well, but the idea that you've done a lot of your own stuff, like you've done the Bish Kids, you get these things that are one-off things, but like, to actually, this is not easy to do. Like, this is not, you couldn't just do 100 action figures. It would be way too expensive to do it. But to have your artwork to be that kind of style would be pretty sweet, actually.
Yeah, I would lose it. I know, like, I feel like I'm getting closer. I feel like Drawing Blood's really close, honestly. But I know guys who that's happened to, and I'm just like, you're so lucky. Like Andy Kuhn in particular, like they based the Batman TMNT movie, the animated movie, off his style. And so then they made figures, and I was like, you son of a bitch. Like, Mateus Santaluco doesn't even have IDW like figures of his style, which is such like a iconic IDW style now. And Andy Kuhn has like this whole array, like all the way from like Alfred to Batgirl to Batman, like what the hell? Like, so lucky. And then I know Jose Lopez, who did that Transformers Prime show, is my favorite Transformers show. Like, that's all just based on his style, and they made working Transformers out of his art. It's like, how? So cool. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I think about it every day as an artist, as a graphic artist, and like, this is not my can. This is a can that Phonics did. It's a collaboration with us. I don't have any of my cans right in front of me, I don't think. I do.
Yeah.
It's a van life can that I drew on the iPad Pro. And so this is cool. And I was just talking about the other night, just the small amount of things of like seeing it on the shelf in Kittery or in Westbrook or whatever. You just walk into a store or a beer store and you're like, oh my God, that's my can on the shelf. And sometimes I lose that because so many cans are produced and we sell so much beer across the state that I lose that aspect of it. But like every once in a while I get grounded to the point where I'm like, holy shit, that's my art on that can in that store. And then I mentioned to one of my coworkers the other day, I think it was on Saturday, that when we went to New York City for Orner Brewing Company back in 2017, I created the poster, like the graphic design for the poster that we promoted with us and Bissell and Allagash and a couple other breweries, Oxbow and Bunker. And I was laughing because I went into the bar Blind Tiger, which is this like historical, awesome beer bar in New York City.
Oh, wow.
And I look on the shelf or on the wall, and in a frame is my poster, right? And I'm laughing out loud. And Abe, one of our owners, goes, "What is wrong?" I go, "You know how long it takes some artists to get their artwork hung in New York City?"
Yeah.
There's my artwork right there on the wall. And I'm like, the funny thing is, it's not just on a corkboard. It's in a frame because that's how they promoted the event. But I was just like, my art is in a frame in New York City right now. Like, what the hell?
That's crazy. Before I started doing labels for Masons, I was really into Baxter because they were kind of some of the first in Maine, like doing really cool labels. And so I was like, I got to get to Baxter. And I had like talked to Luke Livingston online a lot. And so we're friends online and whatever. So I rolled over to Baxter and I did this other book called Lost Trail. I don't know if you've seen that one, but it's based on the famous Maine story, Lost on a Mountain in Maine. It's the graphic novel adaptations. True story. Don Fendler, he was 12 years old, got lost on Mount Totem for 9 days, found his way off, wrote a book about it. And now this one's read in schools too. But I went to Baxter and they had my page up on the wall behind the taps. And it was my page of the mighty Pomola because they have a beer called Pomola. And so it's like this moose man eagle monster. And I was like, whoa, that's dope. And then I looked at their cans and I was like, you guys copied my drawing on your cans. And they're like, no, it's different. It was the exact same pose, everything. I was like, you sons of bitches. But I still love Luke. He's not even there anymore. But
no, he's not. And they changed. I don't even know. They've changed so much stuff there now that I don't even know. Like their cans are different and everything is different now.
Yeah, I really don't. I mean, I don't know anyone there, so I'm not trying to offend anyone. But I don't like their cans anymore. They're not good. I don't know about their beer because
the only two cans that are good looking. The only two cans that are good looking in the state of Maine are Orner Brewing Company and Masons anyway, right? I mean, come on.
Yeah. Cheers to that. Yeah. Yeah. I
like the aggregate can there.
I love that can.
That's on my Ben Bishop shelf that has a can and then other stuff from other people because I don't have anything that small. It's like a little one of those. Like, these are those cube shelves from Target, and I don't have anything small enough from Ben Bishop to go on the Ben Bishop shelf. So it's a couple of like Funko Pops.
All the shit I make is huge.
Yeah.
It's like, here you go. Here's a book.
George Perez drawing a picture for me in a can of aggregate. And there you go. Yeah. Next to George Perez drawing a picture for me, though. Is that cool?
Damn, that's awesome. I can see that from here. Yeah.
George Perez, he did a Thanos for me in person. That's one of the best things I'll ever say about missing cons right now in having friends, Jay and Will, who own the Bangor Comic and Toy Con, and having small cons, is the fact that I paid $40 for a drawing. It's on the wall over there. That's of Thanos that George Perez drew for me in front of me me in like, first of all, like in like 7 minutes. So screw him for that. No, but like, and then he was like, hey, you have any comic books you want me to sign? And signed whatever comic books I wanted for $40. And I was like, that was cool. It was a con in Massachusetts, in like Wilmington, Massachusetts or something like that. And it was just like this small place, but I got this Jim Steranko at one point. He signed that for me. I met him, had conversations with Jim Steranko about Stan Lee. And I had what's his name? Who does, he did the Marvel Zombie stuff for a while. Arthur Sadai. He did a bunch of stuff. So it was just like these small cons where you meet people that you would never think you'd ever meet. And, George Perez is no longer going to cons anymore and all that stuff. So it's like, that's the cool thing I missed about going to cons nowadays, is those interactions that we're never going to get again. And some of these artists are going to be cut short. Some of these older artists that maybe never will go to a con again because they're afraid of whatever the future looks like. And
it's probably going to remain kind of sketchy for a little bit, or risky anyway. I love that. I did the same thing when I don't have a table and I'm just like running around and getting everything I can. I've got all these pages up along the walls here. That's what's cool about it. And it's tough because so many people like you and like what we're talking about, they essentially made you as a fan. They made the fan that weekend. You know what I mean? Like, you're already a fan, but some strangers weren't, and or they saw what he was doing for you, and they were like, wait, can we do that? And then they started talking, and like they got one for their kid, whatever. Like, and so I think about just like the comic book industry as a whole, like in 2020, and it's like so many creators that, I mean, I feel like I'm good at the social media and I'm always out there, and so like I don't feel like I'm at a standstill, but I feel like so many people, like, they've been building, growing, and now they're just like waiting. And it's like, what am I going to do? Like, which sucks as far as like building their fan base and more people knowing about them, and.
Well, you have active work. So one of the conversations I had with Jim Steranko was like, there's no retirement in comic
No.
books. There's no such thing as a when he was contracted to draw, Nick Fury, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., he didn't get a retirement plan and health insurance and all that stuff. He's contracted to do a job, and someone at his age basically has to go to cons every weekend to pay a lot of them, not have to, but like, in order to have a pretty good life and the life that he's been having his entire life, it's like, got to go to these Wilmington, Massachusetts small cons to pay for his life. And so it's like, whenever I see someone who's like a historical artist like Jim Steranko, I mean, like, I didn't know much about him as a first going into comic books because he stopped being quote unquote relevant many years before I got into comic books.
People go out of style.
And so like when I was like, no, but I want to meet him. And I had literally, he was having conversations with one of the, I have a tattoo of Stan Lee on my arm. So like, I got to have a conversation with the guy who used to work alongside with him and just shoot the shit with him. And it was like, now I'm a fan of this piece of art behind me. Now I'm a fan whenever something comes up about Jim Steranko. And people always ask me why Thanos is my favorite villain, because I liked him. But then I met George Perez, and he drew Thanos for me in person. So from that point on, it solidified that one of my favorite Marvel villains of all time is going to be Thanos, because I got meet the guy that drew him.
And that happened because you had that experience that you wouldn't have happened if you didn't go to that show that day. So it's like a whole year full of experiences that didn't happen. The new experiences, I guess.
Well, and
so
then
Steranko's
speaking
in
on
Drawing Blood. Did you know that?
Oh, there you go.
Look at that hair. He's got the best hair in the industry. It's like it's like Egon from the animated series. It's like toothpaste hair. I love it.
I mean, he was kind of the guy that wears sunglasses inside still. Like, it's just, but like, he's like, my point of the story, I guess, is that you have work, right? You're still working. You're still doing your own thing, and you're doing Drawing Blood, and you're doing the Last Ronin. Whereas, what is Jim Steranko doing now with no cons? He's just sitting at home now. Maybe he's liking it. Maybe his life is like, oh God, thank God I don't have to go anywhere. But the idea that those people who were, going con to con, and I talked to Jay and Will about like some of these old wrestlers, like they didn't, again, no health insurance, no retirement, anything like that for wrestling. So they're going to cons to sign pictures and take photos with people. And the past 7 months, this entire con season basically was gone, and none of those people got to make money off of it. And it's like, that's some of the problem I miss about this whole BS 2020 we've dealt with. But hopefully someday we actually get into it. But
it's interesting. Like the comics, as far as creators, it's changed because there's more people like me who are like, well, I've seen how that goes. Like, first of all, Kevin and Pete did what they did with Turtles because they'd seen how that goes with Kirby. Like, Kirby used to send in his original art and then never get it back, like, just because that was the business then. And he would be killing himself harder than any of us do now, and he would get, uncredited. He's still not really credited as the co-creator on many of these characters. And so Kevin and Pete were like, F that, we're going to do our own thing and we're going to keep the rights. And they did. And they made this massive franchise, and they let go of the rights when they felt like they were done talking and telling stories about the Turtles, when they had nothing left to say about it, and it was just a good time for them. But for people like me, it's like a whole world of creators now who are just like, well, yeah, I've got my own books. Like, self-publishing used to be such a, oh yeah, well, you'll get there one day. And it's like, screw you. It's like, just because a publisher says no to your book, it's probably because they can only publish 10 books a year. They already have 10 books they want to do. They can put you in for 4 years from now, or they don't know you, or why wouldn't they use a bigger name? Like, it makes sense. Like, but that's never been and it took me not too long, less time than most, But it took me a little bit to realize that that was the case. They're not saying like, you're not ready. They are saying you're not ready yet, but it's bullshit. And they're saying, you know, keep working on this, keep working on that, get back to us next year. But really, like, I said, okay, well, maybe I'll just do it myself. And so I self-published my first book. That led me to Lost Trail. Lost Trail led to other things. And then when it came time to do aggregate, I had like cold feet. I was like, okay, this thing called Kickstarter, where basically you tell people what you want to draw. Like I had 3 pages done of the aggregate and like a cover that never got used. And out of those 3 pages, only one of them made it into the book. And so basically Kickstarter was just me saying like, hey, you've seen how I draw. Some of you have seen how I write. Here's a story I want to tell. If you think it's good enough and it sounds interesting, like buy one early, I'll make it and then I'll ship it to you, which is how Kickstarter works when done right. And it was just crazy. I hit the goal like the first day, and it was like super, super heartwarming to know, oh, like all these people do want to see what this book will be like. And that's a lot of creators right now. And so they're kind of planning for that rainy day. There's organizations for guys like Steranko called like the Comic Book Legal Defense Fund, where they take donations and they hold like big auctions of original art to put that money into people who like may have had like a terrible year like this or something, for those old creators. But for us young people, like you got to make your own way. Like you got to do your own books. If no one wants to publish your books, don't take it as like a reflection of your art. Like you can take the critiques. I got a lot of art feedback specifically, and you take it or leave it. When I started getting the same notes from more than 2 people, I would go, okay, maybe they're onto something. And I would change that aspect of what I was doing or work on it or something. But like right now, there's no reason to not just do it yourself. And then I hope you make it through like terrible years or months like this, so that you can just keep doing what you said you wanted to do for the rest of your life, as much as it hurts your back and doesn't make that much money. So,
and I'm guessing also with modern day things too, the internet helps.
yeah.
I mean, I follow you on
Oh yeah.
your Facebook page and obviously your other pages, your Instagram, stuff like that. And you're able to say, hey, you know what? I've got this cool piece of artwork. Bid starts at 0, ends at 10 o'clock
Yeah.
tonight. Do you want it?
Yeah, I've been doing
Put
a
it
lot of
out there
auctions.
and doing the
Yeah.
auctions. And then you have the ability to sell that on your own. You get your own payment done. You get your own stuff done. You don't have to worry about getting approval from someone up top, whatever. You are the person up top. Like you have that ability too. So that's what's pretty cool about that as well as things like Bish
Got to build
Kids
that fan base
in those aspects of it too. But the idea behind you getting your own fan base is not that you want Ben Bishop as to be the character. Like you don't want you to be the sole person that people pay attention to. But in the same sense, like I was saying before about having, we were talking about before about having your own, like not fallback plan, but another way to make money or another way to support yourself in the industry they're in. But because of Ben Bishop, the person, and because you own your own titles like Aggregate and, you know, and then
Nathan the
work on things.
Caveman,
But also work on things like drawing blood and so on and stuff like that. But people know Ben Bishop as a person now because you've cultivated your own thing as well. And so like when I read something about George Perez, like I was talking about before, is I've only known him because of Marvel, and I really basically know his Marvel. You know what I mean? Like he went to DC and did a bunch of cool stuff at DC, but I'm not a DC fan, so I just, you know, left him there. But I found out you via, you know, your artwork and your stuff, and because of your stuff, like the Aggregate, I then fell in love with things like I started reading Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles again. I hadn't read it in years, and so I went out there and I was buying. Went backwards because I'm trying to. It's easier to find newer issues than it is older issues. But of this current series, I went back and bought. I'm like back to the issue 77, trying to collect those and trying to see those. And so it's like you've helped me find the other way. I've been a fan of you because of the opposite, and I joined the Bish Kids because of you.
Yeah.
And you. I mean, here's a question for you really quickly before we get into the Bish Kids or Bishart Kids Club. Do you normally do special boxes, or is this just a Last Ronin special box? I mean, because I've seen the boxes before just be the Bishart boxes.
Yeah. Well, so the club, let me back up a little bit.
Yes.
So what you said was pretty interesting. I like thinking about it because it wasn't, I never would have dreamed the club would be what it is right now. And I think by like 3 months from now, it'll be even more than I thought it was it would be now. So, cause like I started my whole social media, like kind of presence, just like super, like honest for the most part. I wouldn't post negative stuff. Like no one wants to see a bad drawing that you're doing or anything like that. But I would post just as many pictures of me like grilling or my dogs or something like that as I would my art. And that was just because it's like, this is my Instagram. This is everything I'm doing. It wasn't just to make money off my art. It wasn't just to like get likes because of my dogs. But like one hand, you know, like my dog was fucking cool looking and it got me some followers. And I was like, well, this is pretty cool. And I've just been building it like based on me. This is me. This is me. This is my life. Well, you know, minus most of the negative stuff I don't want to show you. And then building that fan base, and even earlier when we were talking about like critiques for artists and stuff, I go to like portfolio reviews for the art college, Maine College of Art, and like there's so many good people, and then they're just like, yeah, you think I could get published? You think I could get published? And I was like, what's your Instagram look like? And they're like, well, you know, I've been thinking about doing one. And I'm like, that's all you should be doing. Like you should be building up that Instagram while you're building up your skills, so that like when you're ready to go, hey, I've got all the artwork. I got 100 pages for a book. Who wants one? You can just get pre-orders. My very first book, Nathan the Caveman, I got pre-orders, and that was in 2007. Like, so it was before Instagram and all that crap, but it was just Facebook. I'm on page 200, 201, 203, and I was like drumming up excitement for it. But so that turned into this idea for a club. I was like, well, I've got all these exclusive, you know, variant covers now. I had like a handful of turtle ones, maybe like 4 or 5. And I was like, I should just start a diehard fan club, and I'll send them a box of random stuff I've done. So it was all stuff that had previously been done. And I started that in 2017. That was the Bishart Kids Club. And like a lot of I think the first 10 members are all still members today. Like it's wild. Like Chris Vance was number 3. I know that one. Trent Gary was number 1. He's still number 1. Ryan Uris was one of the first 10. I'm doing a lot of name dropping. I can't name you all. But
I'm one of the first 100, right? I mean,
yeah, you are. Yeah. And that's the thing, is like, it's still small. Like 100 seems big, but like if this becomes like a big club, being one of the first 100 is pretty sweet, because my point is those boxes used to come just like anything I ship, a brown mailer, what's in here. And I had this massively complicated spreadsheet where I would try and check off what people already had. And then so every ship day, and I used to ship monthly too, man. It was a nightmare. So I wasn't getting any work done because I was like, okay, what does this person already have? And I would like rifle around, and people are getting doubles of everything. And so that's when I switched to quarterly boxes, segueing into what you actually asked. This is the first box. So there's only been, I think 5 quarters of the quarterly boxes. So after 4 of these, I switched to the Last Ronin, and it just so happened to be like perfect timing for when this book is coming out. I actually did that drawing just for the box, and I was like, oh, everyone's going to be so stoked when they see that. And then a shop reached out to me who's actually owned by a Bish kid himself. He was like, hey, do you want to do a variant? And I was like, well, I do have this one piece I already did, but I kind of wanted it to be a surprise. So I had to spoil the box for him, but we just did that as a variant. And that is actually the one that sold out in, I think, about like an hour or so. And then we did metal covers of it, and those sold out in 4 minutes. It was crazy. So yes, that is a special box.
And so will you, and this is not for me personally to know as a Bish kid, but like, will you go back to the other size style boxes, or are you going to try to do every quarter different boxes, or every year different boxes, or you don't know?
It depends on how many people are in the group too, because like when I first ordered these boxes, there's a print minimum. So I had to order, I think, 100 of them, and we only had maybe 30 boxes shipping. And so those kind of lasted, because then the next shipment, I was like, damn, I need 10 more boxes. So I had to do a new order. And so like the more people we have, the more I can kind of pick and choose what boxes are going out. But I do still have some of these white ones and some of those Ronin ones. So I think the next quarter, not sure what I'm going to do. I do want to do new boxes every now and then, have it be a surprise, but there will be some members who get the old boxes next quarter. So it'll be kind of like a shuffle of sorts. But I think I'm going to try and pick people who don't have, like new people who didn't get that one, or new people who never got the white one. But again, it's like, imagine keeping all that straight. Like people don't understand.
You're back to another spreadsheet. You're going to go back to the spreadsheet again, and you're going to hate it.
I am. Yeah. No, so I have an assistant now. She's wonderful. She's a graduate of Maine College of Art. She was my intern for 3 years, I think. So she knows how everything works, and she's been helping a lot get those things organized and sent out, and keeping things on track. Like even just day to day, I get messages, from people like you, like, hey, I want to switch my tier. Or, how do I do this? And it's like, no one else is going to handle that. I got to do it. So, but
and eventually, if you
it's
also
a great
get big
problem to
enough,
have.
if you get big enough, there is software where, obviously you upgrade whatever software you're using and you use it so people could change their own thing and all that stuff too.
Yeah,
But
that's true.
And obviously but there's cool. So I explained, so anybody who's listening to this or watching this, there's also a bonus podcast that was put out today, which we're recording this on a Monday for a release on Wednesday. So it's already on our website and online about me unboxing this. But I thought what would be kind of cool, not to go too in detail, was to show a little bit what's in it on this podcast. There's a sticker, which
so that
do I need to put this in my car?
I don't know, man. So what's also great about the group is that we have this group chat, and it's just going constantly. There's 100-something people just like making jokes, building friendships. They're getting together. Like some of them find out they work in the same town and things like that. And so they'll do things like that. Sticker in particular is just a meme that somebody made, like to try and, get more members. Like they were sharing it on Facebook, and the sticker says like, it's the Will Ferrell on Talladega Nights where he's like, if you don't chew Big Red, then fuck you. And it's like, if you're not a Bish kid, then fuck you. And we replaced we replaced the Big Red with a membership card. And so I had it made of stickers, and that guy is like, holy crap, that's amazing. And then the last box we did, there's a guy in the group, Thad, who looks a lot like this character Beastly from Drawing Blood. And Thad was building a home gym because of quarantine, and he was like, hey, can you make me a logo for my gym, Beastly's Gym, da 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 da. And I was like, well, I don't really have time. So instead I did it as a freaking shirt that the whole club got. And so Thad is like, this is amazing. So I try and keep it like really, it matters. Like I care about what you guys are talking about, and I think it's funny, and like,
But that's what's cool about joining now too. Like I was saying, like if you were to get 1,000 members, it'd be really, really hard to figure this out. Excuse me. But with 100 members, what are you, just over 100 now? 103 or something like that? 105?
113.
Now, wow, geez. See, the funny thing is, because you were saying at the beginning of this, we got our last payment was at the end of September, right? So the beginning of September, you're like, you have time, whatever it was. And you're like, we need to get over 100, and now you're at 113. That's pretty cool.
The past week there's been 7 or 8. It's crazy.
Oh, it's because they're getting into before because obviously it's quarterly, so
When a new box comes out and people are opening it and making videos like you did and showing what's inside, people are like, wait a minute. And I think I was hopeful that the Last Ronin box would make like a casual turtle fan be like, what the hell is that, and how do I get it?
And it's cool because it is, and it's perfect timing. I mean, most of us, there are some people I read on our Discord that haven't got their box yet because you do ship media mail, and it does take a little while sometimes.
Well, that's actually what I was waiting on, is what you're about to show. I would have been able to ship a long time ago. I was like, no, but they came out great. I think
they're awesome. I just, like I said, my box came with this shirt in it, the aggregate one, but that's because I bought it separately. We just saved on shipping here. And so this shirt's, again, next level, which I was super happy about. So I'm excited for that. So there's a t-shirt in there.
It's got the same image that's on here, but it glows in the dark.
That's the thing I was so badass about it. When I didn't realize that when I first opened it, and then I saw you post something about it, or someone posted something about it, and I was like, oh my god, I can't wait to actually wear this in the dark. And like,
I thought that would be kind of neat and Halloweeny. I don't know, but I was like, it looks like a white shirt at first. And I was like, do I really want to spend extra money so it glows in the dark? Like, who cares? And I was like, I care.
Exactly. I mean, that's the thing. It's the And so we got a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles number 100 print.
Yeah. So that's actually a sketch cover that I did. That's an original. Well, that's not in your hands, but
no.
So on the backs of my Turtle 100s, there's blank backs, and so I drew that, and that's actually one of the commissions for one of the guys in the group. And so he was psyched to see, not only does he have a poster of it, but now everyone does. And and that could go either way, but everybody so far seems to like each other in the club, and so they're glad that everyone else can enjoy the art too. So.
Well, that's the thing. And it's like, to me, it's like, yes, it's not an original piece, but it's original signature. So it's like,
oh yeah, of course.
You know what I mean? That's cool to me. And then
I'll always do that. Yeah.
And you got Old Hob, and is that Leatherhead in the background?
Yep. So those are the original. It's a little washed out right now, but yeah, there you go. So that's the original, just the raw pencils for my, you said it in your video, but TMNT Universe 5.
Yes,
right?
because I was wrong, because I originally said it was the cover, the retailer incentive for 55, but that was a different cover. But I had that. The
50,
universe.
55 was my first cover. That was my very first cover job with Turtles.
I have that one. I just need to see you again and have you sign it.
Yeah, I've only got like one. But so those pencils are cool because if you look at the actual cover, they're a little bit different. I ended up hiding a little bit more of Leatherhead when it went to print for whatever reason. But I really liked showing his body in the one that you actually have there. So I'm glad that there's like that, strange variant one-off just for you guys. So that's the other thing. Every single thing that comes in these boxes is only for the club.
Oh, yeah. And I've saved my favorite piece, obviously, for last. And it's probably your favorite piece in this thing, too. But, like, I was saying in the video that my buddy Adam, who is going to pop on the podcast regularly to talk about beer, he bought me for my wedding a Kevin Eastman, the Spider-Verse print. But it was like an exclusive to Kevin Eastman's things. Like, he's part of that group.
One, yeah.
And it's pretty badass. So I was like, it was the only one that I have 4 pictures. People can't see it here, but I have 4, or sorry, now I have 5. 11 by 17 frames on the wall up here. And originally I was all pencils, all prints that were not in color. And so I was like, but I really want to hang this up. So now I have a color Kevin Eastman. And I was like, so now I'm trying to figure out whether or not I hang up the pencils of, Old Hob or the color. And I'm like, well, if I did a color here, then, so now I got to figure out which one I got to hang up. So
you got to just get used to this because you're going to have a few prints in every box. And you're going to be like, man, I'm out of wall space. And like those guys who have been in it. Yeah, sorry, you go ahead.
I upgraded to the sketchy Bish too, so I'm gonna get a sketch here pretty soon too. So.
Yeah, you're gonna have original art too. Yeah, the guys who have been in it since 2017, they bought portfolios, and they just keep it all like in a portfolio.
What I mentioned about this box though is like this box is fucking badass. So like you could just put it all in this box and just stack them in the box.
That's true. I should really, sell that. Like, do you need an extra storage box? Actually, a lot of people have been reaching out because they want that Ronin box because their mailman, drop kicked it or something. Yeah. And I'm like, that's why I feel bad selling you an.
Anybody who signs up, you can sign up for priority shipping. You just have to pay a little extra. But like this, just so you know.
Well, it's nowadays it's anyone's guess. But like the people who did sign up for priority right now, their box went from Maine all the way to Oakland, California, and they've been sitting there for 2 days. And everyone's like, "What's going on?" And I'm like, "You should have sprung for priority." And they're like, "We did." And then so I don't know what's happened.
Well, I did that too. The box. So I for Board of Maine, a company that I'm an ownership of, I sent Ben a bunch of shirts. Your package went. Your package I sent ground. USPS. Or whatever it's called, like it's like a weird off thing. Yours went to Portland or Westbrook, wherever the hell the Southern Maine East Distribution Center is, and sat there for a little bit, then went to you. Someone bought something from our website.
Westbrook.
Someone bought something from our website that before we turned it off, because now we're rebooting and relaunching. Someone bought something. We're like, oh crap, they bought something before I sent that one priority, and it went to New Jersey. Before it came back, he lives in Connecticut. Before it came back to Connecticut, and I was just like, why would you? It seems like a waste of money. Like, wouldn't it cost you more to send this priority package, Bish box, all the way to California, then come back to even if it, I don't know. It just seems weird.
It's just I don't know, and I feel like they do. This feels like I'm talking people out of the club, but I feel like the mailmen they pick on me when they see my pickup because it's last time was 82 boxes one. Yeah. And they're just like, are you kidding me? And so I feel like if any packages are just going to be put aside, we'll deal with those later. There'll be something like that, where they can just go, oh, that whole black and red box, just put them over there. We'll get to it. Cause I think last shipment too, we had a handful, maybe 4 of them that were just stuck in Springfield, Mass for no reason. And I'm like, all right. But I mean, it's the world right now too. So
now here's my question before I get to the last piece that's in here. My question is, obviously before, like you said, sometimes there's print run a minimum of 100. What happens if someone's box gets lost? Like what as a question for generic people, but myself. But
so I always have to over order. And so I until now my print run minimum could be 100 because we may have over 100 members, but we have a $10 level where they don't get a box. And so there are quite a few $10 people too. And so I think last quarter shipped, I think 53 boxes, and this quarter we shipped 82. So it's like, it's going up. So now my new print minimum has to be at least 125 so that I have extras. And so for when that happens, because I have had, the shirts are trickier because those are all like, you put in your shirt size when you signed up. And so I tried to order a couple extra, but there have been a few people who have shrank or got bigger over quarantine, and they're like, dude, this doesn't fit. And so I'm not sure what to do yet, but maybe we'll just do cut off sleeves or something.
Yeah, well,
but
and that's the problem is like a t-shirt is like, you also don't want to give away what you're putting in it. So you don't want to be like, well,
yeah,
what
I
are you guys
can't.
now? Like and I guess you could do it every single time a Bish box is supposed to go out, just be like, just want to verify people's sizes, and then you say it in, and
and then again, it's all this spreadsheet stuff where like, oh, go back in, and we have a couple different forms, and so you got to go into each one, and but that's where Emily's like really shining. Is I'll just make a list of like, hey, check who changed stuff, and I have like a list of notes like, you changed tiers, this person left, this person came in, whatever, and she'll handle all that when she comes in for me. But yeah, so my new print minimum is like 120, and then those extras, they go up into the members only store. So that's what's great about this period of time in between quarters, where essentially you get your box in October. Ideally, you would have got it a little earlier in the month, and then the deadline to sign up for quarter 4 is October 31st, because that's when that first payment will hit. And so we have like all this time for new people to either switch their tiers, or get their friends to join, or new people to come in. And when they do, they can hit up the members only store. And right now I still have in stock everything from the first quarterly box, which is this like giant Raphael Target R artist edition. So these are all just the originals, and it's all self-published, numbered for the club. This was the very first quarterly box big item. And so you can go back and like get all that stuff, cherry pick it. It's more expensive than if you had just signed up. Because now I've seen the worth when people throw them on eBay and whatnot. And I want to make sure people are buying stuff that is worth something,
Yeah.
I'm not gonna charge $5 and then have everyone in the club be like, hey, what the hell? Like, you just dropped the value of the exclusive you sold us.
Well, that's the thing, as I was trying to say when I was doing my unboxing, which was like trying to think to myself, what would I have spent on some of this stuff? And it's definitely over what I spent over 3 months.
Oh yeah.
Just for this box, and that doesn't include the Discord that we're part of, and I have bought things off of the exclusive site. And I've also bought things off of bishart.net or .com, whatever it is.
With your code.
Yeah.
Like you get
so
a
I
discount
have
code.
saved discounts and all that stuff as well. And so, so including the shirt I'm wearing, I think I was able to use my discount on that. And so there's definitely the extra incentive on it that the box itself paid for itself, if that makes any sense. But all the extra stuff is basically bonus to me, because obviously when you sign up for something, I'm not going to spend $25 to $200 a month to talk to a bunch of people that I could talk to. Sorry. That's a bonus on it, which was like badass, that all the people I get to talk to on Discord are also getting a lot of the same stuff that I'm getting. So now I can go on over the next couple of days waiting for people to actually get them and stuff. It's, oh, this is pretty cool. And so on. So it is pretty cool in that aspect of it. But like, I joined at the beginning, or right just before the last box came out, and so
you've been in a while, but haven't got a box.
Correct.
Until
this
now.
is my first box, which is one of the reasons why I did it. But then, like I said, I upgraded today. I messaged Ben and was like, "Hey, I'll go to the highest one we can get right now, because there's no more super high ones."
Do you want me to show what that might look like?
Yeah.
Before you show the last item.
Yeah.
So I don't even know if you've seen these. Have you been looking at spoilers?
I think so. Yeah, I think I saw some.
So we got these like these prints, and they're on like really, really nice paper. But I had these printed. They even have like a line of color. It's like sandwiched in there. But so I've got like where's my freaking camera? Missing, Wanted, and Mutants in Manhattan, of course. And then I did original sketches on them. So this is a Rorschach. This is the only one I have left. Probably going to auction it off or something.
Yeah.
Or if there's a damaged one, then the damaged guy has to take this Rorschach. But I really like that Rorschach. So I did that before too. Like in the previous box, the special sketch was like a vintage style Playmates, like turtle card back, like what you would have seen on the packaging for the action figures. But it was the character target R. So like really, really angry Raph from the macro that Kevin and I did. And I did a little sketch in there. So now there's this new tier that you signed up for, 75, Sketchy Bish. And you'll get, so every, like, I don't know what the piece is going to be that I'm drawing on or what that creative element is, but there will be, so that's going to be a task, thinking of that every quarter, but it's fun. And then the actual sketches will be real, original, unique sketches.
Obviously off the top of the head, now I joined too. Do you know how many you have? Do you have space left in that Sketchy Bish, or are we getting close to the end?
It is limited to 15 people, and I think there's 4 spots left.
Okay.
Because the reason that these even exist before that existed was because originally, and this is all part of the club growing, originally at $50 you would get a piece of vintage Bishart, like something from my flat files that I'd already drawn, like a sketch, a preliminary or whatever, and they cleaned me out like since 2017. So I'm thinking about what you're saying about like Steranko, and I'm like, why doesn't he just sell his old art? And then I'm like, oh man, he's probably out like me. And so we had to turn that down because there were too many people in 50 for me to draw that many sketches a month. I did it for 2 quarters in a row. I think it was like 35 drawings. So it was a lot on top of all the books and everything else. So we turned it into the Sketchy Bish tier, and that one only has 15 spots. So it's still limited.
And there is 2 tiers above that for anybody listening to, but they are full right now. So at some point, if Ben quits everything else he's doing, he might add some more spots on there. But so right now you could sign up to get some original artwork every quarter. Do the Sketchy Bish, which is what I signed up for recently. But this is the Mega Bish box that I got this time, which is basically the smallest box that you can get, because there is a $10 a month one, but that doesn't include a box. That just includes the Discord, the discount code, and all that stuff. So
So $10 is no box, but you get a code, you get a discount code. And not only that, but lately I've been doing just special pricing too. So like my Last Ronin variants were already $10 off for anyone in the club. Plus you get to use your 10 to 20% off code. Because why not? I want you guys to have every issue. And so then at 25 is the base box. That's what you got. And then 50, the new 50 is the base box plus 2 of the big items. So in your box, for example, it would have been 2 of the shirt in that particular box. In the first box, it would have been 2 of these. In the second box, it would have been 2 of these. This is Drawing Blood issue 1 with a sketch cover, and they're all numbered on the back. And then this is also just the artist edition. So you get the idea. 75 is with the sketch, 100's commission, 200 is 2 boxes plus a commission, and plus 2 of every item. So it's like, those have to be limited, because I can only draw so many things a month or a quarter. So
you're just gonna run Bish Kids. That's all you're gonna do if you just do that.
If I didn't have, it's not what I wanted to do when I was 11 years old, but I'm having a ton of fun. Like if I didn't have any comics on my plate, I probably wouldn't be that quick to jump into another one.
Yeah.
Because I'd be like, let's really nail this down, give it some wheels, get some help. And then when it's working on its own, I can go back into a book. But like right now I'm in the middle of 3 books and the club is kicking off. And so I'm just like having a heart attack every day.
And so now, so now that this is kicking off, you promote it. Now you've got 2 months or so, or whatever, how long it takes you to get stuff in, because you've obviously got to order stuff. But you got like a time to breathe now between now and at least the end of November to get like
quarterly
not to focus
structure.
on it.
Yeah, quarterly structure is great for me. It's just enough time, I think.
And it's great for us. I honestly think about it. When I thought about it the other day, I was like, yeah, it's great because, I could pay $75 a quarter, but then I'm able to pay it over 3 months. And so that, that way I get the box, but then it's like, I spent that over 3 months instead of in 1 month. And so it does help in that aspect of it too.
I like that. I like that particularly too. Some people have asked, like, can I just do the whole quarter at once? And I'm like, well, I don't think it would be as, popular of a club, because I think, think about the $200 level, like who's going to drop $600 and just get a box in 3 months? Like I'd rather, hang out, chill, forget about that 25 you spent 3 months ago. Like, I don't know. That's how I roll. I'm like, oh, well, if I buy it when I pre-order it, I don't have to think about it.
Yeah, exactly.
Bought some toys this morning. Yeah.
And then the coolest thing I think, and it's hard to do on the video, and I try to do it on the video my best, but it's a metallic print.
Yep. I got another one too. Maybe we'll get double coverage.
That is of the same image that's on the box which is also the same image. What shop was the one that got this image on the front of the book?
Sin City Comics, and it's CYN.
Yes. And so they had that on there, but this is obviously signed by Ben as well. And again, this is limited to the number of people who got this in their box. So
100.
One of the things I was thinking, when I pulled it out and showed my wife and stuff like that, it was like, this is like cool to me because it's something I don't think I would ever bought this. That's what's cool about some of these boxes. The same thing I was telling on the unboxing was that I do have Marvel Collector Core where I get these bobblehead Funko things, but like one of the reasons why I'm even part of that club, I say club, it's just a box I get from every 2 months or every 3 months, whatever it is now, is because it's stuff that you get sent me that I didn't choose. That in a sense that to me that this is cool because I don't know if I would ever have bought this, but when I opened it and pulled it out of the box and saw it in person and held on to it, I was like, this is badass. And so that's what's cool about that. And I think it's something unique. And again, it's the same size of the comic book. So from a distance, you'd think it's a comic. But I was like, I got to find a place to put this now. Like, where am I going to put this?
But that's really cool to hear. I appreciate that.
It's not something that I would have chosen, but now I would have chosen it. Like, so if you were like, hey, we got another metal print coming out, I'd be like, I want to buy one because I've seen one. It was in my box and I was able to hold on to it and see what it is like. It must have been hard to like sign them and not try to smudge them.
Yeah, I got pictures. I have them all spread out. And then like some of the other thing about the club is they just like love to give me shit all day long. And like, so some of them are like, well, it would have been great if you numbered them all. It's like, well, would it have been great if I like smudged my signature or there's just like this blot that used to be like a 4? Like I needed to touch those things as little as possible. You know what I mean? And so like, there are things I'll number. Every one of these sketches is numbered because I wasn't worried about destroying it at the same time.
That's fine. I'll just come see you at a con and you'll just put a number in the corner.
You'll be number 1. So you guys can rest assured, at least knowing there's only 100 of those in existence. Like for Sin City Comics, we did decide to do metal variants. So this will be actually adhered to the book, but the only people who have like these ones, and I think they're going to come out differently too, because this one actually by the signature says BKC, Bishart Kids Club. So the other one won't say that. So it's still like out of all those covers, like 500 covers, I think like 25 of them were metal. And then out of all those, there's only 100 of these with the actual Bishart Kids Club. So it's cool. There's going to be all these things. I'm like looking forward to the future when there's all these weird things floating around and people are like asking me, is this legit? Like, what is this? And I'm like, oh, that was Q2 of the first year. Like something like that. Like it'd be fun.
Do you know anybody else that does something similar to this? Or are you like not trying to like pat yourself on the back here, but like,
no, I'm not either. Yeah. No, so my original intention was like, I want to do something like a Patreon because I really believed in the structure of Patreon. I actually tried to do aggregate on Patreon before I went to Kickstarter. And Patreon, for those who don't know, is like, they call it like micro payments. So essentially, you would get a payment every week or every month, whatever you set it to. And that would all go towards this like lump sum that allowed you to create whatever thing you were creating, whether it was music, videos, podcasts. A lot of times. For sure, or comics. But with Patreon and comics in particular, like for me to sit down for 12 hours and draw a page, I need to not make any money on anything else that day. You know what I mean? And so I can't do that for 240 days in a row. And so it was like dribs and drabs of how it was coming in, but it wasn't enough to fund the book, which is why I ultimately went to Kickstarter. But I really loved that whole thing, that whole structure that they had put in place. So I said, well, I want to do Patreon, but I also kind of want it off the grid. Like I don't need everyone knowing like how much I'm getting or how many people there are. Like I'm talking about it now because it's not really a big deal, but like I don't want people that are like, oh, I want to support this guy, and then they go to Patreon, they see he's getting, I don't know, like $3,000 a month. Like he doesn't need my support, and then they just leave. You know, I think they've changed it now where you can hide it. But so that was my original thinking, and then I just started doing it, and like I said, it was very different when we started. It was just stuff I had already done. And now it's been like, it's a lot of fun every quarter. Like I have a whole whiteboard that's just like ideas of cool things to make. And a lot of them are stemmed off of like crap that we talk about. Like the group, even though it's like fun to hang out and stuff, it's also like research and development. People are like, you know what we need? And then they'll say it. And I'm like, oh, that's actually pretty cool. Like, and we've got guys in the group who do their own, we've got so many artists, first of all, but we've got guys who do their own like CNC cutting machines and they're printing on metal, or they're like, they made me coasters, split decision coasters, like in cork. and they're just like, I'd love to do, like, they want to do an exclusive for one of the boxes. And I'm like, that's such a great idea. Like, it's made by an actual Bish
Mm-hmm.
kid. Obviously I'll pay you. But I'm like, are you ready for that kind of work? It's like, you're gonna have to make like 120 of whatever it is we decide to make, like, and be like, and you have to do it or I'm screwed. Like, so it's
But
fun
yeah,
though.
it's an exclusive club, but not exclusive to the point where no one can join, which is cool. So I can tell someone. It's not like you were like, I'm gonna get 100 people. That's it. We're done. Moving on.
Yeah.
Now it's like I can tell someone. I can share it on my Facebook. I can do this unboxing to try to grow the group. To have maybe I will get a friend of mine to join. So then I can have conversations in person with that person, or maybe I meet a friend for life on the Discord we have. And
we
so
haven't had any marriages yet, but we've had a lot of like real
I will
friends,
probably say that I'm the first
meetups.
Bish kid to get, most recent Bish kid to get married, who's a Bish kid member, but not to another Bish person.
Yeah, no, one day that will probably happen though. But yeah, you are, and someone got married right after you, so you hit it first, I think. We've had like babies in the group, like someone's like, I had a baby, and everyone, like, we say good morning every friggin' morning. We do flip off Fridays where everyone just flips each other off. Like, it's fun.
And I opened it up. I've been busy, and I explained this. I said I read it, I get notifications, and I look at it, and so on and so forth. I haven't got a chance yet, and I've been a member for 3 months to really communicate with some of the people, but I do read it from a distance. The same thing with me on Snapchat. I'm on Snapchat. 99.9% of me is reading out someone else's. They're sending me a Snapchat and I'm not responding. I'm just like, that's cool, fun, awesome, and then I move on. So a lot of that is just the watching from a distance kind of thing, and that at some point I'm going to get involved in it. But with all the stuff that I'm involved in too, it's
a lot.
It's a lot.
But they would love to know what you're up to. Actually, we just had a new member. I think his name's AJ, and his whole Instagram is he takes pictures of beers, like you've seen so many times. And I was like, dude, you're gonna love it. I was like, this guy Justin's in there. He's at Orono. He's done a few of their cans, and he was like, oh, no way, because he had some pictures of your beers too.
So I'm looking forward to that. So I'm excited to do the next step on me. I got my box now. Now I know.
But you can do whatever you want. I'm not telling anyone they have to use the chat.
No, but like the idea behind it is that now I feel like I'm a real member. Like now I feel like I'm a real member. I've got a box. I've been a member for the whole quarter. I've done this whole thing. I've been able to see what the entire experience is like, minus going to cons, because that has not happened for anybody recently. And so hopefully at some point we'll be able to do that. That will be giving the entire experience is the chat, the box, the cons, all that stuff.
Yeah, because you've seen the pictures when we were going to cons. It was like, how many can meet up, and we would do big dinners, and like, and for me it was awesome because I was like, you guys watch my table, and like there's a couple people like I hadn't met that much, so I don't know like if they didn't know like how to hang out or something, but they would just swing by and like drop a beer, and I was like, this is amazing. Like, it's like best club ever. But yeah, so it's a lot of fun when cons do start back up. It's interesting in the chat though. It's been fun to watch from the outside. Like certain members will kind of talk for a long time, like months, and then they'll just fade back, and it's like a new group will talk, and the people are all still there and chiming in when they want. Like the OG members are like, you freaking kids, and but it goes in these waves, because I know who are like the heavy talkers right now, and they weren't 2 months ago. It's crazy.
That's awesome. That's so cool.
It's just fun.
BishartKidsClub.com. Sign up today. So this is going to release on the 28th. So you have a couple of days to finish that up. Sign up by the 31st. I would say sign up by the 30th just in case, but you have until the 31st to pay, and then you'll pay. If you sign up today, you won't pay until the 31st, which is nice. So if you sign up on a Wednesday, you get paid on a Thursday or a Friday, you're fine. And then 3 months from now, so it will be, what is it, November, December? So you'll get your box in beginning of February, hopefully, right around.
So it'll be.
Sorry, you're right, January. So
October,
it'll be
November, December.
Yeah. So then you'd get once your final payment.
Payment, is when I start, putting labels on and hopefully getting them out the door. This one I was waiting on those shirts. But yeah, we get those labels on, we get them out, and hopefully, as we get better and better at this, there's more of a month period of time where people can do cool unboxings like you've done and really demo what's in there, and then let more people know about it and have them jump in just in time. But that being said, this is also the first box that we've had a lot of new members recently that want the old box, or like the previous box that's still landing right now. And so when I can, I will actually offer, you can just pay in full for the base box like you just did. Like I should have done that for you when you signed up, because you signed up at kind of an inconvenient time where you just missed the first payment. But I think that was a case where like one of the items was out or something like that. But like, so going forward, I'm going to kind of plan for that too. I'll probably make a few extra and just be like, got 10 extra boxes, you know. So
and the cool thing right now is if you sign up today, or again, this is the 28th it comes out on, 28th, 29th, 30th, 31st, you can get someone a Christmas present, because you can give it to them on Christmas morning and say, hey, you're going to get a box in a couple weeks or whenever it's going to arrive from the Bish Kids. So, and then you're part of it for the future. So,
see, that's a brilliant idea. This is why the group is so good, because now I'm thinking, if you sign up during the quarter or before the quarter, even if you sign up before the quarter, I'll send you something that you can put under the tree. How's that?
See, I'm just trying to think all kind of things.
I'm doing 5 of them. That's it. So
promote it, get it out there, because I think it's worth it. I think it's like I said, I feel like I'm part of the whole thing. And the cool thing is I wanted to talk Last Ronin on this podcast mainly. And the cool thing was that Ben did a Last Ronin box in a style, which is pretty cool and pretty attractive.
Yours is in good shape.
It is actually in pretty good shape. My wife sent me a picture of something else that came in. There was something else that came in that was on top of it, and I saw it in the background, and I was at work, and I was like, I can't wait to get home and open that thing.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't care about the picture on top. It's the thing behind it that I care about.
That's what I've been so excited about, honestly, because I've had that box for probably over 3 months. Like, I think 4 months I've had that box, and I was just like, couldn't take pictures of that side of the room, couldn't tell anyone about it. And then I was just like, I can't wait. I hope they just get home and it's like standing up straight by their door. And they're like, what the hell? So that's exciting for me. I want to do more.
And I mentioned on the unboxing wrongly, it's more of an 11 by 17 size. I said 11 by 14 on accident, but it's because it fits a print. So
it's 12 by 18, so it fits 11 by 17 perfectly.
Yes, so it's safe.
That was my goal
of it too, but it's pretty cool. So but I'm so excited, man. So when this releases, Last Ronin will be on shelves in comic book stores around the country. And then I think it's mid-December, is that what it is? Roughly around there is when the book 2 comes out. I think I read December 16th or something like that, somewhere around there.
I hope so. Let's push it a little bit, like maybe January. I don't know.
But it's 5 issues. It's really kind of a cool thing for IDW and for Kevin and those guys. It's really cool to see Kevin and Peter be able to see something they worked on years and years and years ago to finally hit the shelves at stores and see that aspect of it, and that you get to be a part of it. It's pretty cool too, and that aspect of it too, because they came up with the Turtles before we were born. So it's insane that.
I'm super excited and grateful to be a part of it, and I thank Kevin way too much. And he calls me his Padawan. And I'm like, I'll take it.
Just don't turn into Darth Vader. It's all we care about, right?
Yeah. I'm a little worried about that. Yeah, I've been having dark thoughts. No, I'm just kidding.
Well, you have a cult here anyway with Bish Kids. So,
all right, let's go on the record. It's not a cult. And I've been doing extensive research on how do you know if you're starting a cult? Like, make sure it doesn't become a cult. And so I'm never going to ask anyone to like tattoo anything. I don't want anything from you, like nothing. So play this when
it's a subscription box. Yeah. It's a subscription, quarterly or monthly subscription to get a quarterly box and a cool group chat. It's a discount code. That's all it is.
The only difference between like this and Loot Crate or I guess Patreon is similar. It's the same as a Patreon. Like it focuses around one person and the shit they make. And I think that's the end of it. Like, it's like Loot Crate, right? But it is crazy. Like, we sign up. This is an aside, but I've been like getting deep into like The Vow on HBO. I don't know if you watched it.
I haven't yet heard of it though, but
it's super, super interesting. But they wear like colored things to designate their roles or whatever. And so I'm like, and so these things just happen. Like Facebook Messenger is like, we can only accommodate 150 people in the chat. Yeah. And so I was like, shit, we're going to need to get a new group chat. And so I'm looking around at all these sites. I'm looking at making my own app, everything. And then someone's like, why don't you just use Discord? And I'm like, oh, okay. So we do Discord. And then we're like, oh, you know what would be really useful is us to be able to message each tier at one time. So like $50 people, hey, $50 people, this no longer exists. You need to either sign up for 75 or go down 25. But what that does is color code everyone and put them in groups. And I was like, no, like I'm trying not to do that.
It's a cult with a K. It's a K. It's I don't know. Just Bish Kids Club. So I don't know. I'm just trying to say it's not what you think a cult is, but like,
but that's
no, it's fine.
And people would argue that's what cults say, but seriously, like I'm not doing that. Okay.
So
the moment it is, I'm gonna just like turn it off, and then that'll be really sad because I'll be broke and have nothing to do every quarter.
Well, I just want to thank our Lord and Savior Ben Bishop.
Oh God.
No, really. I want to thank you so much for coming on and joining us, talking about The Last Ronin. Pick your copies up today because this podcast drops on Wednesday at your comic book store local. Shop local because it's awesome. Every comic book store in this country is going to get this issue. And then I'm sure the second prints will come out. Then eventually someone will, issue 2, and Ben will have his variant covers and all that stuff eventually too, and all that stuff too. So make sure you check that out. BishartKidsClub.com. And is it Bishart.net? So
my regular website, Bishart.net, and I still have some Last Ronin there, and I even have some of those Eastman 1 in 10 variants left. I think I only have like 4 or so. So but see if they're still around on the 28th. But
and then
I hope you guys liked.
Mason's beers are also Ben's cans, so that's cool too.
I do all the cans. I'll give them a shout Mason's out there. We got some more coming. I hope you all liked The Last Ronin, and I hope this wasn't boring because you already know who it is. Maybe you do. I don't know.
And then if not, but message at Bishart on Instagram and tell him how you feel about The Last Ronin and what you would like to see. Obviously, he's still working on it, so maybe there's some changes that can happen. But
if there's any Easter eggs you want me to sneak into issues 2 through 5, you can talk about it. But it's gonna cost.
I feel like this logo would look nice on a can.
Yeah,
somewhere
I think,
out there.
Let's fucking do it. What do you think?
But I really appreciate it, Ben.
Yeah, man.
Thanks a lot.
Yeah, take care.